The rain pounded against the windshield as Ethan Walker gripped the steering wheel of his pickup truck. At 36, he had learned to live with storms. Since losing his wife 4 years earlier, every day had been another battle. His 8-year-old son, Noah, was waiting at home with a babysitter, expecting his father back before bedtime. As Ethan crossed the old bridge outside Seattle, flashing lights caught his attention. A sleek private jet had skidded off the runway during an emergency landing and crashed into the icy river below. Smoke filled the air as people stood on the bridge, recording the disaster with their phones. No one moved. "They'll never make it," someone whispered. Ethan slammed on the brakes. Without thinking twice, he jumped from his truck and ran toward the riverbank. The freezing water stole his breath the moment he dived in. Broken pieces of the aircraft floated everywhere. He heard a woman's desperate cry for help. Swimming through floating debris, Ethan reached the damaged cabin. Inside, a woman in her early 30s struggled against a twisted seatbelt as water rushed in. "I'm stuck," she cried. "Don't panic," Ethan shouted. Using a heavy piece of broken metal, he forced the buckle open. The seatbelt snapped free. He grabbed her hand just as the cabin tilted beneath the water. The jet disappeared into the river seconds after they escaped. Both of them barely reached the shore. Emergency crews rushed toward them. The woman coughed violently before looking at Ethan. "You saved me." Ethan simply nodded. "You're safe now." Paramedics wrapped blankets around both of them. A man in an expensive suit suddenly pushed through the crowd. "Ma'am," he dropped to his knees beside the woman. "We've been looking everywhere." Ethan quietly stepped back. He didn't know who she was. He didn't ask. As firefighters surrounded the woman, Ethan picked up his soaked jacket and walked toward his truck. "Sir," one paramedic called. "You should stay for a statement." Ethan smiled politely. "My son is waiting for me." He climbed into his truck and drove away into the rain. Neither the rescuers nor the reporters noticed, but the woman never looked away. She watched the old pickup disappear until its taillights faded into the darkness. Only then did her assistant quietly say, "Miss Carter, the board members are on their way." The woman nodded. Her name was Victoria Carter, founder and billionaire CEO of Carter Aerospace. The next morning, America woke up to headlines about the miraculous rescue. But every news channel asked the same question. Who was the mysterious man who saved the billionaire and disappeared without giving his name? The following morning, Ethan was making pancakes for his 8-year-old son, Noah, when a deep engine rumble echoed through the quiet neighborhood. Noah peeked through the window. "Dad, there are black cars outside." Ethan walked to the front door. 3 brand-new black Cadillacs slowly stopped in front of his modest house. Neighbors stepped onto their porches, whispering in confusion. Men in tailored black suits stepped out and respectfully opened the rear door of the middle Cadillac. A graceful woman in an elegant cream-colored business suit stepped onto the sidewalk. It was the woman Ethan had pulled from the sinking jet. She smiled warmly. "So, I finally found my hero." Ethan looked surprised. "You shouldn't have come." Victoria smiled. "I had no choice. You disappeared before I could even thank you." Noah quietly tugged on Ethan's sleeve. "Dad, who's she?" Victoria knelt down with a gentle smile. "I'm someone your father saved." Noah looked proudly at Ethan. "I knew my dad was a hero." Ethan laughed softly. "I'm just lucky we both made it out." Victoria shook her head. "No, you risked your life for a complete stranger. My security team wouldn't even let me fly without bodyguards. But yesterday, a stranger became my guardian." She handed Ethan a small envelope. "I'd like you to accept this." Inside was a check for $1 million. Ethan stared at it for a few seconds, then quietly folded it and handed it back. Victoria blinked. "You don't want it? I didn't save you for money. But your house, your truck, I investigated. I know you've struggled since your wife passed away." Ethan smiled politely. "I have enough." Victoria looked around at the tiny home. "The roof leaks. The truck is 20 years old. You work 2 jobs, and you call that enough?" Ethan looked toward Noah, who was happily eating pancakes through the kitchen window. "My son sleeps peacefully every night. He knows he's loved. That's enough for me." For the first time in years, Victoria found herself speechless. Around them, neighbors watched silently. One elderly woman quietly wiped away tears. Victoria slowly folded the check, Then let me ask you something. What is your dream? Ethan answered without hesitation. I want Noah to go to college someday. I never had that chance. Victoria smiled. This time, don't say no. She pulled another envelope from her handbag. Inside wasn't a check. It was a fully funded education trust for Noah, covering his schooling through college. Ethan looked at the papers in disbelief. This isn't for me. Victoria nodded. I know. It's for the little boy whose father reminded me what real courage looks like. Tears filled Ethan's eyes. He finally whispered, "Thank you." Victoria smiled. You already thanked me yesterday, when you jumped into that river. Months later, Ethan never accepted a luxury house or expensive car. He continued living the same humble life, but Noah's future was secure. Every year on the anniversary of the rescue, Victoria visited their home, not as a billionaire CEO, but as a family friend. People often asked her why she trusted one ordinary man so completely. She always gave the same answer. Because when my life was sinking, everyone else reached for their phones, but a single dad reached for my hand.